decided in 1914 assumed a new name or a name referred to as Nigeria would now be regarded as a country, and that country would be named Nigeria. So the life of the edict was just 100 years. The edict would expire after 100 years. So technically and statistically, this edict expired in 2014. The Sadana came with the idea that we can't all melt into one tribe. We can't all melt into one language. We can't melt all in one faith just because we want to be called Nigerians. No, for me, that was our first mistake. For us to bring a system that did not fit our history, did not fit our
Good evening, viewers. This is BVI Channel 1. You're welcome back again on this program where we tell you undiluted truth. And we are on the program Matters Arising. Tonight, we're going to be looking at very important issue that concerns Nigerian people. As the Northern Elders Forum, their spokesman, Ango Abdullahi, had made a case we've been talking about all these years to balkanize Nigeria, to break up Nigeria to regional government. Reversing Nigeria to regional government would be a better language to use for those of you who hate to hear break up Nigeria. All right. It will interest you to listen to him very attentively because there are lines we needed to cross there and some T's to dot. And while you are doing that, be sharing it to everyone because every Nigerian, as long as Nigeria is concerned, irrespective of wherever you came from, irrespective of your religious affiliation, Nigeria in one way or the other is happening to you. Whether you are in Nigeria or you are rejected to another country. Now, let us quickly listen to what Abdullahi say, Ango Abdullahi, on this matter about the question of this experiment you call Nigeria. So, let's get on to it. I'll be right back immediately after it.
I've seen Nigeria as a British colony administered by the British people, and they decided in 1914 to some of a meeting where some far-reaching decisions will be taken in terms of the future of the country. And by that, I mean the promulgation edict that was discussed in 1914 included 6 eminent Nigerians, or 6 eminent people, because at that time, before the meeting, they were not Nigerians. It was after the 1914 that we assumed a new name or a name referred to as Nigeria. If you read that edict, for those of you particularly with penchants for law, like Dogara would, will see the content of that edict. It was an edict because it was a decision made by former British military officers who were governing us, in various ways in the country as a colony. And they couldn't have used any other term than an edict. And after that edict was approved in their meeting, This was then referred to the colonial office, and it was adopted that this new nation was then born. Nigeria was born by that declaration in the edict. So, for those who are curious like me, I read quite a bit of that edict, and it was an edict of hope that the Nigerians that were colonized from Lagos to southern part up to the northern part in 1903 would now be regarded as a country, and that country would be named Nigeria. It is of interest to hear that maybe I'm wrong here, the historians are here. It was the governor and the wife of the governor, or I think the governor general, that in fact gave us our name, Nigeria. Now, the content of that edict was simply that the people that had been put together under that edict are called Nigeria, and the people within Nigerians will now move forward and over the years build a country that they could call their own, and others would also respect as a country different from theirs. And I think that the edict was very clear. In fact, it said the life of the edict was just 100 years. The edict would expire after 100 years. So technically and statistically, this edict expired in 2014, exactly 100 years after. But we did not do anything in a very special way to say that that edict no longer existed and so on, but it was there. But the content was very, very important. And if you read the content, you then consider why we're here today as very, very important. The elements in the edict were simply that the people who were conquered by the British from the southern part of Nigeria, Lagos and others, including the north of course, are now agreed that they are going to build a country. And this country will be called Nigeria. And they should be working very hard to make sure that they succeeded. And from time to time, they should create opportunities to assess the kind of progress that was being made towards that objective of building a country. And I took it that they were doing that, particularly when we get back to the point when our first generation leaders in the country were working towards getting Britain out as a colonial master towards our independence. And they did extremely well, in my view. They worked together, coming from different places and so on. Just as we are still from different places today, they were even more in different places at the time when they decided that they should get themselves together and see whether they can really produce a good country for all of us. And they did. No. So I think that if you look at what they did, one of the quotations that I always use, particularly when people are quarreling about themselves, where do you come from, what language do you speak, which place of worship do you attend, weekly or daily, as the case may be. The Sadhana came with the idea that we can't all melt into one tribe, we can't all melt into one language, we can't melt all in one faith just because we want to be called Nigerians. No. So the important thing is for people from these different backgrounds and different antecedents and so on, is to continue to dialogue and understand their differences. Once they can understand their differences, they should be able to work together towards building a country. And this was the spirit behind their working together up to the point Nigeria had achieved independence. Not that Sadhana ceased to be a Fulani man, not that Chikawalo ceased to be a Yoruba man, no Zik ceasing to be a Igbo man. But they worked together because they tried to understand their differences. And these differences will always be there forever, more or less. There is nothing you can do about it. It is not your work in the creation of Almighty. And in the various scriptures, I'm not good in all the scriptures, it said, we created you in different nations and so on, so that you can understand each other and live together. So here, I think that going back to the main theme of this dialogue, what is dialogue about? Dialogue, as the master of ceremony has eloquently described, is a situation where you sit down, discuss, and try to resolve matters that are not quite clear to many, or are not understood by many, and so on and so forth, so that you can eventually get closer together in your understanding of issues that are important to all of us. And this is where we are today. As I said, I was born a British Nigerian, as many of us here are. In 1961, the British left us. But even then, I think the Queen remained head of state until another declaration was made, I think in 1962 or thereabout, for Nigeria to become a republic, so that the headship of government returns fully to the people of Nigeria. Now, those who captured us or conquered us left behind a system that was familiar to them. This is the British parliamentary system, was what was bequeathed to Nigeria at independence. And we can't deny that. And we accepted it. Our leaders went to all sorts of conferences within and outside the country to accept parliamentary system of government, and they tried it. And for some of us who saw it and were part of it, we think it worked for us. It worked for us. The system they left behind was a federal parliamentary system where there is a federal government under the original government. And the region I come from, or I came from and still come from, is northern Nigeria. And when I started my public service in 1964 after graduating from Ibadan, I started in the north. The north had its own constitution, like the west had its own constitution, the east had its own constitution. There was a federal constitution. And all appeared to be working in harmony, and things were going on fairly well. Until some, perhaps, people a little more in a hurry decided that that system was not working, and it was overthrown. Some would say that was the beginning of a crisis. I would say yes and no to this, because after we discovered our mistakes and the tragedy that befell us after that, we should have thought again, why did we fail if we failed under the parliamentary democracy that we accepted the independence? Why? Why did we fail if we failed at all? Why did the young boys who decided to uproot it do so? And so on. These are the various questions that ought to be resolved very, very clearly, but unfortunately, for a number of reasons, this was not the case. The country almost broke up, thanks to some elders and some soldiers. Nigeria remained after 1966, but without continuing a crisis that ended us up in a civil war, which again was eventually resolved. General Gowon, head of state in 34 years, who led the country for 9 years, did extremely well together with elders. In his cabinet, or rather in his government, rather than cabinet, there are elders, Chief Awolowo, Olamide Kano, and the rest of them were working very closely with General Gowon that made it possible for him to run this country for 9 years, including the crisis we went through in the Civil War. It is of interest to note that for those 9 years, Nigeria did not borrow a kobo from outside. We wonder why. But that's not for me, but for the dialogue people to really revel a lot of things that have gone wrong since then. Never mind what happened. Then, after Gowon's 9 years, there was a decision to reverse to what people call democracy. Democracy has very elastic meaning. Every country in the world today claims democracy. America claims democracy. China claims democracy. Most countries claim democracy. So democracy must have multiple meanings, flexible meanings, and so on. So it's right for us here to ask what kind of democracy do you want to have? And it's also right to insist that we can have a homegrown democracy, and our children who are versed at a lot of things should be able to do so. But then there was a transition between military and civil rule, and there was a disagreement in terms of how this should happen. And to my mind, that was our first major mistake. I was a candidate, I was one of those who should have been in the Constituent Assembly of 1975-76 to discuss the constitution that was transistors from military rule to civil rule. I remember our elders then, Malam Aminu Kano and others, who would gather around in Lagos to say that the military leaders have insisted that there will be no discussion on parliamentary democracy. The Constitutional Assembly was not to discuss parliamentary democracy. The Constitutional Assembly should go and borrow or find a presidential system outside the country. I think what they had in mind, and I think up to now, the two parliamentary systems that are a little all over the place, American and the French. And eventually we opted for the presidential system. Well, to my mind, America has just had an election a few days ago. And to my mind, it did not demonstrate democracy. It demonstrated election, but it did not demonstrate democracy. For me, that was our first mistake. For us to bring a system that did not fit our history, did not fit our traditions, did not fit our experience either as under colonial government or under our own independent state. We did not. Yet, we were not allowed to even discuss it. If I can remember here my classmate, a very eloquent sociologist, Dr. Ibrahim Taher. Up to his death, he insisted that it was a mistake for us to bring in American presidential system to Nigeria because it will not work for us. And if the parliamentary system had not worked for us just after using it for 5 years, now we have experienced presidential system for 24 years. Dogara is here to testify. 24 years. With due respect, I think our situation is worse than under the parliamentary system that we rejected just after trying it for 4 or 5 years. So this dialogue here should really be as objective, dispassionate as possible, to look at some of the things that we did wrongly. And one of the things we did wrongly was to bring in a system that did not fit our situation. And if we can, and we should, and we can, we should work out something. It may not necessarily be the typical parliamentary system you find in our former colonial masters. It could be something else, but definitely the presidential system has not worked for us. And it should be possible for us to be less sentimental, more objective in really bringing this out clearly. And there are questions I would like to ask, especially those who would be on the panel to tell us yes or no. I will ask these questions later to illustrate the point that the presidential system has failed Nigeria over the last 24 years, and there's need for us to change to something else. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome back again. This is still BVI Channel 1, and we are live on Matters Arising. You've heard everything he just said with respect to Nigeria question, the Nigerian question of survival as it is today by the speaker or the spokesperson for Northern Elders Forum, Nigerian Northern Elders Forum, in the person of Ango Abdullahi. Now, we're going to dissect some of those things, and for those of you who have listened to us this far, we hope and believe that you have grasped something, and you may want to air your opinion to this very issue because it concerns every one of us. Every one of us here as a people, as countrymen called Nigeria today, which I say that Nigeria has in one way or the other happened to you. So with respect to that, I want to use now this opportunity to open up the floor lines for people who wants to call in to call and air their opinion on this issue. Very important. Do you think that Nigeria as it is today will ever work? My own answer is straightforward. Never. Never. It can never work. Nigeria as it is today can never work under the current both circumstance and political structure of Nigeria. It is bound to fail. And it is those who are the political players today are the ones really have hijacked Nigeria today and turning it to their own personal enterprise for their own personal gratification, amassing primitive wealth they cannot. Let us quickly take up the first caller who is already here. Good evening. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, good evening. You're welcome to the live broadcast on BVI Channel 1. Matters are rising. You can introduce yourself and proceed. Your name and where you're calling from.
All right. My name is Zedong. The CEO Metro Radio London. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Very well. Go ahead.
All right. I'm not surprised that the Northerners are now clamoring for division. So I am now directing this talk to the Senate, the Igbos in the Senate, to move their fingers, to move their eggs, to get Nnamdi Kanu released. Because that's the same word, the same breakup of Nigeria, that is why they jailed him. If they could make this kind of statement, either they get the man arrested like Nnamdi Kanu or they release Nnamdi Kanu with immediate effect. Nigeria will not function, but it's not a question of can it function. This is just mere talk. If they want Nigeria to divide, they will make it to divide. But the people who don't want it to divide are the British, the Americans, who has more interest in Nigeria oil and Nigerian gold and Nigerian mineral oil. So if the three political zones, East, West, and North, want to divide Nigeria, they will. But what many of them stand to lose or what they are gaining, we never allow them to divide because all of them, they are suffering. All of us, we are suffering. The people in Nigeria are suffering. The people in diaspora, they are suffering. Everybody. So it is high time everybody knows, both from Tinubu himself to the road cleaners, all the politicians, what every one of them are doing is take the money, stash the money, rob the money, take as much as you can, because they know that this end is coming. So Nigeria, just like what others used to say, is a mere crash or trap zone. So the earlier is not question of coming to the television or coming to the radio to say let us, let us, let us. It is just medicine after death. Let the northerners move. If it is an easterner, if it is one of the easterners that said this now, they will move to arrest him. If it is the west and the north, they will be looking, just like they are listening. That was aired in NTA and many other channels. So if they want to divide Nigeria, they know what to do. First is for them to let the British know that the game is up. Not by English talking, not by speaking, not by grammar, not by coming to the television. If they want to divide it, they can do it. But by force, not by pleading. Because the people, just like the British, they've swore that they will go to war to break up. But if the Northerners, they are ready. If they are ready, Nigeria will be broke up.
All right.
So that is the way I can put.
Okay, that is very fine of you. But now let us review some of the things you made mention. You talked about Nnamdi Kanu and that of Abdullahi, what Abdullahi said. I think they are quite a little bit different to both of them. But I'm going to bring in Ndubisa Nengu, who will be joining me virtually on this very program so that we'll deliberate on this. But to answer or to react directly to what you've highlighted, Ango Abdullahi is calling, from my own perspective and from what we've been advocating for, a restructuring of Nigeria to regional government. He's not asking for secession of any particular ethnic nationality. He's asking for a regional government for Nigeria to work, to ever work. And that is the reducible minimum we've been saying. But before now, the northern people sees restructuring Nigeria in that manner as a breakup of Nigeria entirely, that it will give an edge for other people who wants to move away from Nigeria to move away. Why not? Anyone that wants to move away from Nigeria is free to move away from Nigeria and be on his own. Okay, but that has been their fear and apprehension. But today we've seen them come out from that shell to lean one step forward in this whole question about Nigeria, because as you can see, Nigeria is not favoring any one of them. They've been in government for God knows how many years. For all these donkey years, they have been in power, but nothing had ever worked for them. Today, I know so many people may say it's because a Yoruba man is now in power. That's why they are not coming forward. Why didn't they say that during the Buhari era and the rest of them? The truth of the matter remains that everybody at this time had known that it has choked. Nigeria has choked, choking those who have been killing people to keep it as one, knowing fully well it is not working. So that's the narrative. So it's quite different from Nnamdi Kanu and other ethnic nationalities who are calling for outright breakup of Nigeria into different independent countries. Okay, so there are two arguments today, and some people believe that it is better we work it out this way, because I made mention of this thing over and over when Sadano of Sokoto at that time made a case to Zik and told him, and he mentioned it in this address, that we rather understand our differences that is the only way we might work together or build a country. While Zeke was advocating for one Nigerianness beyond your ethnicity and religious affiliation, that we shouldn't put that into consideration. That was Zeke's ideology. So, but Sardauna understood this thing far better. In fact, the Hausas understood, or the Northerners per se, understands some of these things much better than the Southerners, especially the Southeast, who are predominantly influenced in their political thinking and opinion by sentiment and emotion. You understand? So the average Northerners have seen that this system is not working for them, and perhaps they have built a kind of system for themselves using the economy of Nigeria all these years. Don't get that twisted as well. Don't put that one aside. They have also built a parallel system along Nigerian line in government. Talking about the Sharia government, it has been invoked. It has been properly, ingrained into the northern Nigeria political and governmental system. So they now have a parallel system. They have their own banking system. They have their own economy driven by that banking system. They also have their police, their enforcers, their courts, and the rest of them. Just every part of government is already existing for them in the north, outside what you have in Nigeria contemporary government. So if you look at it, they will say, oh, one might argue that these guys have already gotten enough and a chunk of this economy. And now that what we call crude oil and all of those things are now phasing away, and people are going towards renewable energy and the rest of them. And you know the north is predominantly available for solar, because that place, there is too much availability of sunshine. So they can, and large expanse of land, if they want to cultivate and harvest solar energy, they will be one of those to reckon with in Africa. So all of those resources, and we're not talking about the solid minerals who had been there and they've been mining it. So they don't want to have a share of, they don't want others to have a share of what is in the north. So that's why now they believe they can stand alone. Unlike before, they believe they will be gone if other part of Nigeria is not with them. So that is basically what this whole thing is all about. And I believe you now understand the disparity between what he's calling for and what Nnamdi Kanu actually was advocating for, including those of them in what do you call them? In Oduduwa. They were also calling for the same thing. So I bet you now understand that very point of view. And to those who are watching, don't forget that this is a live interactive section. If you want to air your opinion and lend your voice to what Abdullah said right now, you can call +2348104545533. The number is right here. So when you call, we take your call, and also we go through your comments on the comment section via our social media handles where this is streaming live. We are streaming live on our Instagram platform. Just search BVI Channel 1. We're also streaming live on our Facebook page. Search BVI Channel 1. You will be there. If you're not following there, please do, so that you will not get anything missing coming from this platform. And also we are streaming on our backup YouTube channel, which is BVI Channel 1 Plus. You can go there and also subscribe. We are also streaming live there. So that is it for now. And let me quickly get to your comment section and see what we have there from the people who are watching. We have Henry Oranwa said, Fulani Elders Forum speaking. Okay, I don't know if you have any problem with that. We have this Kozit channel. This Kozit channel made a comment here. He said, it's either that people are ignorant or' subterfugious. Please, if you are speaking this big grammar, be reducing it, must be toning it down for the benefit of others who may not understand. Tinubu alone cannot break up Nigeria. We must all come together to do it peacefully. I agree with you totally. That is coming from this Kuzit channel. And you can also drop your comment here and we will take it up from there and relay the same to everyone who is watching. All right. So the numbers remain +2348104545533. My brother on the WhatsApp, hope I have answered your question. And if you have any other issue you want to raise, you can bring it up subsequently. Now, NDBC have joined us virtually. I think he's having problem. He comes on and off. Okay. When he becomes stable, we can bring him on. He comes on and off on the program. So when he comes on and his stuff is a little bit stable, we can bring him on. Okay. So that is it about now. What is your take on what Abdullah said? And if you are just joining and you've not heard what he said, let us review that while we wait for your call. Once the call comes in, we will bring the call and suspend because it's all about what he said. I know many of you would like to hear from him what actually did these northern people say and what are they up to. So in case for the benefit of those who are just joining us and want to hear it, what exactly this man said, let's get to it and we'll continue this program while we wait for your call and your comment. Keep dropping it on the comment section and keep sharing this video. It is live and it is up to you to lend your voice on the very matter that concerns every one of us. All right. With that, let's get going. Let's get to that video.
I've seen Nigeria as a British colony administered by the British people. And they decided in 1914 to invite some of our elders to a meeting where some far-reaching decisions will be taken in terms of the future of the country. And by that, I mean the promulgation edict that was discussed in 1914 included 6 eminent Nigerians, or 6 eminent people, because at that time, before the meeting, they were not Nigerians. It was after the 1914 that we assumed a new name or a name referred to as Nigeria. If you read that edict, for those of you particularly with pensions for law, like Dogara would, will see the content of that edict. It was an edict because it was a decision made by former British military officers who were governing us, in various ways in the country as a colony. And they couldn't have used any other term than an edict. And after that edict was approved in their meeting, this was then referred to the colonial office and it was adopted that this new nation was then born. Nigeria was born by that declaration in the edict. So, for those who are curious like me, I read quite a bit of that edict, and it was an edict of hope that the Nigerians that were colonized from Lagos to southern part up to the northern part in 1903 would now be regarded as a country, and that country would be named Nigeria. It is of interest to hear that maybe I'm wrong here, the historians are here. It was the governor and the wife of the governor, or I think the governor general, that in fact gave us our name, Nigeria. Now, the content of that edict was simply that the people that had been put together under that edict are called Nigeria, and the people within Nigerians will now move forward and over the years build a country that...
Hello, good evening. This is BVI Channel 1, and we are live from Matters Arising. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is I'm calling from
You are calling from where?
I'm calling from
Imo State. Lagos State. Okay, all right. Okay, now to what your opinion on this very issue that we are discussing.
Yes, I saw your program and I heard sharing this kind of topic. You see, I thought that they have program. If you are those that are doing it is very easy to just have that interest. But as a member, I thought them, I've got them very well, and I've seen it. It is not easy. Breaking up. It's not easy. We need each other. But the only thing is, all of them are very bad, and are good. And the particular thing that is happening. If not, why are we so? We don't need them. We don't need them. We have to assist our brothers in the north. The same thing in the south. The same thing in the west. So it's this government, our children that never to be answered. What about the Hausa that never to read? What about the Yoruba that never to read? What about the Igbo that never to read? We are all down now. It just give uncertainty that doesn't respect. If not, as the woman of the neighbor, this is why I feel the people are talking, say, why not result to me now in some of this movement? So that we can take the mind. You know, every man was born as a woman. We know what we have. We know the setup in the body. And tomorrow we see that the spirit and the children of God. No one let the man be speaking for much. Whether it does need a solution, and the solution is there. But when we agree to come down and achieve that, we need each other. We need each other. No matter the odds, we need each other. We have abundance of people all over. Why all these things? But even if we are going to break up, this will be in a peaceful manner. Let this look. Sometimes when I said this thing that I need to spread joy, I said, God, why did I give people you? Forgive us. It's serious. Especially after the Civil War. Kids supposed to carry back in the life. But every day we need to respect. What am I trying to say? I don't go with all this money to live themselves. You think you make it women. Let us decide that I am the children. We don't need all this data. We don't need. We need to do the work. But let them do the work too. Thank you, sir. That's my own contribution.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling, although we didn't get your name very clearly.
I said,
Okay, Ify, all right. Thank you for calling. We appreciate you. Keep listening as we continue in this public awareness and sensitization. Everybody's opinion really counts here. Thank you.
Yeah, well.
All right, that is Ify that called in from Lagos. She said that, in her opinion, that Nigerians are one, that we've become one, and we should remain one, irrespective of the challenges, if I'm not mistaken, what he had said so far. All right, and I think we still have other people who are calling. Whoever that wants to call can call in, and we will take your call. All right. In her own opinion, I can tell you that people is really quite complicated for people to understand about Nigeria oneness. Okay, Nigeria have tried everything all these years to be one, and it is not working. And I believe, just like I said every time on this platform, that we should better, or rather, understand our differences. When you do, even the Bible said, two cannot work together except they agree. Before you can agree with anybody, you must have an understanding. So this country had never worked because we failed to agree, because we've not come to the understanding of our differences, and know fully well that the aspiration driving the East is different from that is the aspiration driving the North. The same is also applicable to the West and the other parts of Nigeria, and that is the truth. And that is why Nigeria is in a stalemate. Okay, that is why Nigeria is in the middle of nowhere. That is why Nigeria had never worked and will never work with the way it is. Now, let me quickly bring in Debate. I think he has finally, coming on the program, joining us virtually. Ndubisi, good evening and welcome to the program tonight. If you can hear me, unmute yourself. Ndubisi, can you hear me? I think we lost him. We hope he comes back. He's having real big time issue with his network. His network is really, I believe, is throwing him out from joining. Okay. I think he's having problem coming on board. Can you hear me, Dubisi? If you can hear me, come in. I can see you there. Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Go on. I can hear you, Ndubisi. I bet he cannot hear me. I bet he cannot hear me, and that's why we can get him off for now. Let us take other callers. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening to you. You're welcome to the program. This is BVI Channel 1 Matters Horizon, and you're live on the program. Your name and where you're calling from?
Okay, I'm calling from the US.
You are calling from?
The US.
All right. Your name again, please.
Emeka.
Emeka, go on with your submission.
Yeah, there was a woman that called. I know everybody has their opinion, but she's making a mistake.
All right.
And I'm telling you the reason why she's making a mistake. If a Yoruba man like Sowore can recognize the fact that Igbo people are being suppressed, we are not definitely, if anybody that has just an ounce of sense will know that Igbos are not being, they are not expressing themselves the way they should. If you look at it, Igbos that go outside, they excel better than the ones back home. And there's a reason for that. We have a serious problem. Our people should start asking themselves serious questions. It's not about going to throw money or praising yourself. Our people are being suppressed. Okay, when I came abroad, when I started realizing it. Igbo, we are blessed people. They come out here, they are making waves. Half of the things you hear Igbo people doing is, in fact, it's a minor. Or the things we do abroad is so much compared to what we hear. We need to start asking ourselves serious questions as people. Get together and start working together and bring up. My biggest regret is how our elite handled Mazin African. I schooled in Ife. At the highest point of OPC, the way they handled them, they still kept them under the Yoruba elite control. But we didn't do the same, you know. And it's a big regret. The way we handled IPOB is so poor, and it's on our elite, you know. So I don't know. We need our space. Igbos need their space. Yorubas are claiming their space. Everybody's claiming their space. It's just the Igbos that are not seeing things for what it is.
I agree with you. I agree with you totally, my brother. You know, some of our people are still blindfolded.
Something I'm not supposed to say. I'm not supposed to say this, but I'll say. There's a place I went to about 2 years ago. There was a naval officer there, an American naval officer. At that point, what was happening was that the embassies were running away from Nigeria. They were saying there was something that happened, like a security threat. If you can remember, around 2 years ago, so many embassies were running away from Abuja. People don't realize it, but a wise man prepares for the worst while hoping for the best. That man told me that he was in charge of those that led the people. They led people out of, they took out people from their embassies. Mm-hmm. And it was not only American embassies, so many other embassies. I asked him why. He told me there were weapons that came into the country. And the Roman, everybody was running outside. But to me, I was supposed to be. Nigeria is at risk. We need to start. A wise man will prepare for the worst, while hoping for the best. I don't know why we don't have. You know, I went to Cambridge. This governor we saw, they have a place where they actually dedicated to houses and just. My people make me sad. You have to have your intellectual group, people that are thinkers, put them on one side. Put like all these other guys that we have, keep them on the other side. But you're in control of your space. You have to be in control of your space. Mm-hmm. Do you think the Yorubas don't have an army? All Christian is an army. If you don't realize it, know it today. Okay, then you will see it. It's unfortunate that we don't have people that think. Thank you very much for the work.
Thank you so much for your own submission. It's really valid, and we hope more people who are watching, who also have their own opinion, can come up with it and understand better. All right? Thank you so much for calling, and stay connected to this platform, BVI Channel 1, where we speak undiluted truth. And in case you are joining us, we are still on the matter, the call for a breakup of Nigeria by the Northern Elders Forum was rekindled when Abdullahi, when the spokesman for Northern Elders Forum came forward to make a case, to make a fresh case to Tinubu, asking him that the system of Nigeria presidential system is not working. They are looking forward to going back to what the arrangement during the 1960 independence. And that's exactly what we are deliberating on today. If the North are calling for the breakup of Nigeria into regional government, because that's exactly the whole thing they are talking about, the summary of the whole thing he talked about there. Okay, so we are looking forward to you to make your own submission with respect to that. All right, so let us take some calls as it's coming on WhatsApp. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Yeah, good evening. Please turn down the volume of your listening. Yeah, turn down the volume of your listening device so that we can have this discussion properly.
Are you hearing me?
All right, Uchendu, go ahead. You're calling us from United Kingdom, right?
I am currently NYE. I am calling from London, UK.
Go ahead, Uchendu.
Okay. I've heard about division of Nigeria and all those things. But one of the things people don't realize when they talk about division of Nigeria, those component areas, are they not going to harbor the same people that made Nigeria not to work? Because I don't think they will have a different asylum. And let me give you an example. If a corrupt politician that is from the east, or the one from the west, or from the north, if you divide Nigeria, he will still go to his area and still be running the show. So the poor man in Birin Kebi will have effect of these greedy people. The poor man in Ebonyi State will have the same fear of suffering. The poor man in Uge, in Cross Rivers, will have the same problem. The poor man in Maiduguri, in Borno State, will have the same share of these cruel politicians. So, dividing Nigeria is one thing, but the main thing is that having good governance is another thing. So, what we need to do is basically, we might not need to divide Nigeria. Because why I say we might not need to divide Nigeria? Because people think that dividing Nigeria solves the whole problem. No, it will not solve the problem. So the main problem Nigeria have at the moment is the one is this not having Nigerians and a country called Nigeria. When you have a country called Nigeria and you have Nigerians, you have a better country. So what you have in Nigeria is you have the Igbos, you have the Ibibios, you have the Fulanis, you have the Hausas, you have the Yorubas. But you don't see anybody called Nigeria. And you don't have a nation called Nigeria. That's the truth I'm telling you. So when you have a president, Israel is a Yoruba president, like what we are seeing now. So most of the component or sensitive offices are occupied by those that speak the same language like him. So when General Muhammadu Buhari was in power, we saw what also happened. So that shows you that in actual sense, there is no country called Nigeria, and there is no Nigerians. So if you want to get this country working, first of all, you must have a Nigeria as a country. So now, you now have Nigerians who are citizens of this country. So once you have that, so two of these will work in pari passu, in agreement. So now, immediately you have that, nobody will be going to Lagos and say, oh, go to your homeland, go to your state, no, because he's talking to a Nigerian.
Exactly.
So once he said that, the law will come heavily against that person because it will be called racism.
and division. So the person might be finding himself 30 years imprisonment with no option of fine. If a president go to the television and said, these Igbos are the problem of Nigeria, the president automatically loses to be a president because he has disobeyed the constitution. So that's how a working country works. So now, you will not see a situation whereby you are living in Calabar. You have to now travel to Lagos to travel abroad or travel anywhere. What will happen is that in Calabar, you will have airports, international airports. Run it and pay your federal tax. So in Anambra State, you don't need to travel to Saudi Arabia only. You'll be in Anambra State, have your international airports, maintain it, pay a federal tax. So there will be total autonomy. And if you are in Anambra State, you can't say, oh, this person is from Enugu State, so you will not be employed in Anambra State. So it becomes division, racism. So the constitution will not allow you to do that. So when you have that, that's when the country works. Meaning that I call it opening the windows of economic opportunity. So what is happening in Nigeria now might turn out to be a blessing in the long run. Because as Nigeria is collapsing gradually, the pharaohs that hold Nigeria will not be having money anymore to steal. They will not have money to pay the armed forces or any segment of Nigeria. Finally, they will be forced to say, okay, states,
let us
your own affair. Open your airport, run the airport, pay federal tax. So nobody will be disgraced because there's no money to share anymore. This is a blessing in disguise.
We're already getting to that point where there is nothing to share.
At a point, nobody will be saying, oh, you can't build a seaport or river port. Nobody will say that. You won't have, oh, this is a federal road. Oh, because I'm not in power, my federal roads will be in a bad state. No, it will not happen again. Because the host, you have to build your own roads. You have to pay a federal tax. So I don't know if you are getting my point.
Your point is very clear and very, very, very clear on it. Very, very clear.
Most of those people that are talking division and not division, they don't actually know what they are talking. Because they think that you divide the country, the problem is solved. No, the problem is not solved. That's the beginning of another problem.
If
so
the right things are not done, actually.
First of all, is that to continuously to pray that what is happening now will continuously lead to Nigeria that will finally say enough of wickedness, enough of injustice, so that the real Nigeria will arise. What you have is a secessional and divisive country. We call country. We don't actually have a country at the moment. So we never have a country, even from independence. So that we now have a country and the hardship continues. So everybody running away at a point, those people will say, oh, we have to do something. Let's have a Nigeria and let's have a Nigerians. Let me leave it like that for other people to contribute theirs. I think I've spoken my own mind and what I do believe. I do believe that things will eventually turn out to be better what people never expected. Thank you, Tinubu.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that very submission. For those who have been calling, please keep calling. Once the line is open, we take your call. So some of you have called several times. Keep the call coming, all right? We will take your call eventually. This is still BVI Channel 1 and we are live on Matters Arising, talking about the breakup of Nigeria now by the Northern Elders Forum. And in this contest, just asking for the irreducible minimum we've been speaking about. That is returning Nigeria to true federalism, or what you may call regional government, and also adopt another system of government outside this presidential system that have only, you know, been worthwhile for corrupt politicians in Abuja, playing the Abuja politics. All right, that is what we are reviewing tonight, and we appreciate our last caller who called in from the UK, to and also those of you who wants to call in or drop your comments. We will take your calls as we continue on this program. We want to also acknowledge other people who are watching on our YouTube channel. Don't forget, this program is being streamed live on our Facebook, our Instagram, and our backup YouTube channel, BVI Channel 1 Plus. In all of these platforms, please subscribe, like, share, follow all the things that we're doing right there, because we are building a very powerful community that will empower the people with the right information, that will open up their thinking faculty to, stand their ground for good governance. And that is where the freedom of the people starts from. So we appreciate the last caller that called in. While we wait for your call, let us get down to your comments. We have Bobby Uzoma. Okay, Endino TV channel said Nigeria is finished. We now have Bobby Uzoma said Israel is 9 million, doing extremely great. Yes, of course, Israel is typically like, the whole of Israel is typically like the one or two states in the southeast, or one state. Even one state in Nigeria is bigger than in Israel as a country. BVI channel 1, your name and where you're calling from, please.
Yes. Good morning from here. This is your friend, Ethiopia.
All right, go ahead. You're calling from. Go ahead. We can hear you. Your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from the this is your brother,
Okay, Obidi. Oh, go ahead, my brother. Yeah.
I just came in and I'm trying to talk about your discussion. And all I wanted to ask first of all, before I make my comment, is this cause of breakup of Nigeria is this absolutely required for only the North and the Yorubas, because it appears they can only come out and demand for the breakup of Nigeria. Nobody says anything. Just like we do the world, can only come out and ask for it. But when we ask for breakup of Nigeria, it becomes a problem. Okay? From all these clear evidences that people that we don't want, there's nothing like Nigeria to start with. Okay? Because Ryan is we're not the same people. The history is clear. The reason they created Nigeria is not for the benefit of any of us, any of these groups, but rather for the benefit of the people who do it together. And we still have situations to because to witness, to be witnessing what is going on in that contraption today. And how people cannot, I mean, the people, what I'm saying by the people is what you know about every ethnic group in that contraption coming to their refugees and finding a resolution to this situation. But rather, what we are doing today is to a few groups will rise up from here and once their hands lay their hands on the weapon, they start jumping up and down like monkeys. Killing everybody, killing all that. So what is the problem? This discussion, for me, it should be a good discussion, but it is really a discussion led for the northerners or for you. But no, it is a hugely left of them to bring up this discussion. Because the reason I'm asking is
if they can boldly come out and ask for the solution of breakup of Nigerians, and for us, who among us is coming out to ask for the breakup of Nigerians? It's been a good time that we are suffering from that country. So, I think, to me, I think you're trying to bring destructive, methods that will just bring back to be talking about. Because this is an opportunity. If our people are thinking, and these guys, and this is not the first time they are bringing this discussion. There was about 4 years ago, we also the court, which is the breakup of this construction. Where did we come? Okay, they just woke up again and started to do. Sometimes I don't know how to look at the whole group of people in that construction, control. The entity is not going anywhere at all. Everybody is looking at it. Every nation is making one. Every nation is moving forward. It's only the things that is going backward. All the nations that we all study, namely India, China, and the rest of other countries, you over the past 5 years have come all the way from behind to be very productive nations today. And we are still talking about breakup. I mean, think about it. So I just probably just to do it seems like one of those distractions. You go run on the south, there's so many distractions. People are now fighting over different groups. Some people say you are not some Igbo, you say you are from the Igbo, and you say you are from Igbo. All kinds of distractions. And then in the southeast, I think it's another way they are distracting us by increasing all this religious ties amongst us. People are now husbanding one another based on religion. They are not even talking their freedom. So it's really amazing. It's really surprising. Really depressing environment there. So even here, the northern elders are now speaking for the breakup of Nigeria. In what way? So that's
okay. I really appreciate your opinion. Okay, and from the whole thing, it is a political thing. But unfortunately, the people who have hijacked the political structure of Nigeria are never do well with criminal-minded and very dubious in their character. You can't trust. All right, and they know that Nigeria is not working and will never work, but it is only working for them, so that they will be able to cater and how do I put it? They were able to amass primitive wealth by diverting public funds, because Nigeria as it is in a state of confusion. So if we are talking about how we are going to walk our way out of this mess, I mean the people who are trapped, because I keep saying that irrespective of wherever you are from in Nigeria, you are a victim of Nigeria. Nigerians are victims of Nigeria in Nigeria today, and the people who are really have held Nigerian people hostage, who are the political class, are not letting go. How are they going to break it? How are they going to break through these hostage walls? How are they going to break the chains of bad governance from this political class in order to emancipate and gain their freedom? This is the typical discussion we are, highlighting here. Many have called for a revolution. Some people have called for all manner of advocacy, but it is falling on deaf ears, including those who position themselves before their election. You are saying something?
These people parading themselves around like they're talking about the solution. It's so funny. Okay. And then the other part of it, referring these people as political class. I don't know what kind of politics they are engaging in. Because, if something is not working, if something is not working, it is not your obligations to make it happen. And every day we go to try to holding them accountable for good governance and everything. These people are criminals. They're not interested in the prospect of that, space, government. They are not interested. The worst part of them are the ones from the southeast. Okay, you think that the discussion that you are having right now, their meaning is retaliatory, their meaning remains amongst them. You take advantage of it and push this discussion so we will, know where we stand in that consumption. I listen to your call about something, and it makes a lot of sense when, in terms of, there's no time for calling for breakup. But the point is, who is going to bring this sanity that we are looking for? Who is going to bring this lawfulness? There will be law in the land. Who's going to bring it? Are we looking forward to bringing this sanity from this group of criminals that are sponsoring encouraging and causing them to discard the people that don't have prospect, they don't have anything of place. And most of these people, they are placed where they are today. We are placed in a better position by somebody. And today, they don't care about the future generation. So today, I will say thank you for your presentation and this feedback on the intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for calling, and keep listening and keep following the program. We are still live on BVI Channel 1 Matters Horizon, and we're discussing the call for breakup by Northern Elders Forum as delivered by Ango Abdullahi recently. And this sparked another wave of discussion with respect to the working of Nigeria that had never worked. What is the way forward? And people are pouring in the opinion. You can do same by calling this number on the screen, +2348104545533. We will take your call. And let's quickly take some of the highlights of the comments on the Facebook platform. We have Alaketu Maruf, who said, welcome development, let referendum come up for citizens to decide. I think that's the right way to go. Nigeria need to conduct a plebiscite. Nigeria need to conduct a referendum for them to decide for themselves what they want for themselves. And not few political class hijacking the entire process for their own financial benefit to amass primitive wealth from all of the confusion they have set in Nigerian system. Buki Jones said, good idea. We have Dave D. Chooks. Dave D. Chooks said, this contraption has long been dead. Break it up. All right. Breaking it up is what people are calling for. And even Ango Abdullahi, in his statement, also made that very clear. that Nigeria have expired in 1914 because the amalgamation treaty was to last for 100 years. But afterwards, what is the next thing? Now Nigerians must decide for themselves, and that is the core. This in this program we have Pardon Felix said it is now very clear and obvious that it was only Igbo politicians are forcing this so-called one Nigeria. Okay, it's saying that it is only Igbo politicians that are forcing this one Nigeria. Anyway, hand will touch them. The hand of God will touch them. Greetings, Maz. He said, watching from the city of New York. Keep going with your message. It is to our people. All right, thank you, Mbadike Izuchuku. Mbadike, wonderful man. Thank you for joining and keep watching. We hope to have you one of the days on a live broadcast like this. BL Michael Destiny said, Nigeria is zoo. It's time to end it. Well, let those who set up the zoo end it, if that is it. But I kept saying that Nigeria is not a zoo. That zoo is far better than what is obtainable in Nigeria. I beg your pardon. Let me keep it at that. Ilo Putif General said, Obafemi Awolowo, the hero of Yoruba, has rightly described Nigeria as a mere geographical expression. It is high time the Nigerian corrupt ruling class stop pretending and tell themselves the truth. They are all aware that Nigeria is not a nation. Nigeria is not a nation. Nigeria is just a mere British contraption. By the way, they bought it like a business transaction, all right, from the Royal Niger Company. We're going to double into that maybe subsequently on other programs. All right, Ugo Bess Francis said, okay, all of those ones are the ones watching. Ugo Bess, Francis, Asebola, to your feed, and the rest of you who are watching, we really appreciate you for joining. Okechukwu, Ezizi, Constance Robin, Philip Schiller, Brian Justin, Quincy Jones, Michael Uche Bunam, Kenneth Nnalue, Kenneth Nnalue, you're watching. Franklin Wani, Jerry Spotlight, Sam Emeka, you're also watching. B. Kelly Newton, African Citizens Network, and then CK. We appreciate every one of you. There are too many here to mention. We appreciate every one of you who have been watching. Keep watching, keep liking, keep sharing, keep bringing people to the knowledge of this program so that we have more people where they get properly empowered with the right information, and also exercise ourselves and also speak our mind to issues that affects us directly, especially as it concerns good governance. And one thing that somebody made mention in this program, in the course of this program, is even if you break up Nigeria, what is happening will continue to happen in different segments of Nigeria. To some extent, it is true, but to a large extent, I can assure you that when Nigeria is brought back to regional government, in that smaller unit, it will be difficult for people to use ethnic sentiment and religious affiliation to undermine good governance by throwing that sentiment up, confusing the people, and capturing away the public fund unquestioned, because they believe if an Igbo man is in power and is stealing money, it is stealing it on behalf of Igbo, so he should continue. The same is applicable to the north and to the west all these years. That's why when somebody like Tinubu now is occupying Aso Rock and people come up to say no to bad governance, they will say, oh, you didn't say that when Buhari was there. The northern people, you people are pushing for Tinubu because it is not your person. Even if he is stealing, even if he's committing all manner of evil there, he should remain there as long as he's a Yoruba person. So that is part of the thing we're talking about this evening. That is setting Nigeria back. So taking Nigeria back to regional government will actually solve the problem. And that is what we are looking at this evening. And I want to use the opportunity to appreciate every one of you who have joined us this far. We hope to come back again on this program tomorrow, as we are not getting your calls and we've exhausted the what do you call it? The comments on the comment section. So definitely we will we'll have to end it for the program today and come back again tomorrow for what we are going to discuss. I still remain Oduduwa as the advocate for good governance, hoping that you will join us in all our program. You will follow us on all our social media platforms. On our Facebook, we are streaming there. On our YouTube backup channel, we are streaming there. That is BVI channel 1+. On our Instagram, we're also streaming there. Please use those platforms to reach out to many people by sharing our content so that more people will get to know about these things that is happening in Nigeria, and also form an opinion that will change it for good. I still remain Oduduwa as the advocate for good governance, saying good night and may God bless you. Bye-bye for now.
They decided in 1914 to assume a new name or a name referred to as Nigeria would now be regarded as a country, and that country would be named Nigeria. So the life of the edict was just 100 years. The edict would expire after 100 years. So technically and statistically, this edict expired in 2014. The Sadana came with the idea that we can't all melt into one tribe. We can't all melt into one language. We can't melt all in one faith just because we want to be called Nigerians. No, for me, that was our first mistake. For us to bring a system that did not fit our history, did not fit our traditions, did not fit our experience either as under colonial government or under our own independent state. We did not.